Sections 6 and 7 of Shri Krishna, the Lord of Love, by Baba Premanand Bharati. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Section 6. The Silver Age. Thus, during the first quarter of the Golden Age, covering 1,000 divine years, which are equal to 360,000 lunar years, its predominant spirituality sustains itself in its full vigor. The next quarter is almost equally powerful in spirituality, but after the middle is past, a little decline is perceptible, not so much in spirituality as in the outward habits of the people. During this period, the Vedic truths reveal themselves through the mediums of the entranced minds of some of the highly illuminated men. Now, what is a Vedic truth? It is an expression in sound form of one of the inmost laws of nature. Before this period, the Golden Age, people breathe, move, and have their being in these laws. As sensitive embodiments of these laws, they are, as it were, moving Vedas, human flesh vehicles moved and manipulated from within by the basic laws of all existence. The predominant sattva, in its extreme purity, which is the essence of physical nature in the Golden Age, blends with these laws so harmoniously that they form the self-acting mechanism of all motion of its materialized counterpart. So long as these people are in perfect unison with these inner laws, vibrating spontaneously with their vibrations, they are quite unconscious of the operations of these laws, or even of the laws themselves within them. So long they live as unconscious moving manifestations of the laws, but the moment they become conscious of them, then that consciousness expresses itself in the form of thoughts, and these thoughts find expression in words through the medium of some entranced minds. These are called the eternal truths of the Veda, truths which are the foundations and sources of all truths promulgated by the illumined sages of all climes and times ever afterwards. Just as so long as we are perfectly healthy, we remain unconscious of our health and enjoy the blessing of health most. But when some disorder creeps into our system, we become conscious of it and feel indisposed and try to adjust its lost equilibrium. Towards the end of the third quarter of the Golden Age, a slight disorder is felt in the spiritual health of the people. Then a readjustment of the slight loss of the equilibrium is made with the aid of contemplation of the meaning of these Vedic truths, which are revealed through the still perfectly spiritual souls. Before this time, all of them lived the truths unconsciously. Now they live the truths consciously. This indicates their fall from their absolutely healthy state of spirituality. The degeneration increases with time, at a very slow rate, however, for sattva is still predominant, although raja activity has begun to assert itself more and more until the end of the Golden Age is reached, when the action of raja becomes fully perceptible. This pronounced assertion of raja within all nature is betrayed by outward signs and symptoms. Distinct changes are observable in the thoughts and actions of men, while there is decrease in the wild natural growth and products of edible fruits, roots, and corn. These main features of change mark the end of Satya Yuga, Golden Age, and the beginning of the Treta Yuga, Silver Age. From natural, all-absorbing inward concentration upon the basic principle of the universe, love, and drawing absolute never-failing happiness therefrom. Most people now begin to look outwards for happiness, trying to draw it from the enjoyment of material objects. A small portion, however, still retains the same inward look and enjoys the primeval ecstatic condition of the mind. These still live in the tree of life, but those who look outwards and try to draw happiness from without eat for the first time of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, as indicated by the figurative language of the Christian Bible. So long as they do not look outwards, they do not know of material pleasure, pleasure which is mixed with pain, rajasic pleasure, pleasure which lasts for only a short while, pleasure which has reaction of pain or cessation. This knowledge of material pleasure and hankering for securing them is the fall of humanity. The cause of this outward looking is to be traced to the assertion of the cardinal attribute of activity, raja, within nature, rather than to any fault in her products themselves. Predominant sattva, illumination, maintains the harmony in the mind, induced by calm concentration upon one object, and that object a steady, changeless one. Predominant raja activity destroys this harmony and calmness by making the mind active with thoughts of many objects. This state of activity itself turns the point of the mind's ken outwards and disturbs its harmony. The mind is active only when it has to deal with the impressions of more than one object. When the surface of a mirror is turned towards the sky, it reflects only that one blue sky. When it is turned towards the earth, it reflects many objects. Such is the case with the mirror of the mind. When it is turned inwards to the soul, it reflects its one all-pervading, colorless radiance, and is therefore tranquil and happy. When it is turned outwards, it reflects the many-colored objects, and is disturbed by their conflicting attributes. All through the Golden Age, the mirror of the human mind is kept turned inwards to the soul, and reflects nothing but the soul of things. At the end of that blessed period, the natural assertion of Raja turns it outwards to external objects, which at once reflect themselves in it. From this time, people begin to take serious cognizance of their surroundings and privileges, and to think of material enjoyment, to taste material pleasures. Living the natural love life of the Golden Age is living on the fruit of the tree of life. Love alone is life. It is the source of all life. The dawning of the knowledge of material pleasure is eating for the first time of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, material knowledge. The first hankering for it is the persuasive voice of the evil one, called in Sanskrit Maya. Maya means illusion, that which is unsubstantial to the inner sight, yet seems and looks substantial to our outer material sight. Good and evil may be called the equivalents of the two Sanskrit words sat and asat. Good is sat, which means that which exists by itself, which has substance. Evil is asat, which means non-existent, which has no existence, substance of its own. Good is God, love. Evil is that which partakes of or is related to the phases of unsubstantial, changeful manifestations which form the shroud of the only reality, love. To have our mind's vision turned from this reality to its unreal shroud, and mistaking it as the real, constitutes our fall, the fall of mankind spoken of in the Bible. As long as we know nothing but the truth and live absolutely in that truth, we have no idea of the false, evil, the deceptive, real-looking unreal. But the moment we are attracted by the unreal and live in it, we begin to have knowledge of both good, the real, and evil, the unreal. We become so attached to the unreal that we cannot leave it, although we know it to be unreal. Evil, here is born what is called conscience, which is the warner of sin. This living in the unreal, though we know it is so, and that we should not live in it. This is the state of mind of the major portion of the Silver Age people. With this outward looking of their mind begins the hunting for absolute happiness on the surface of life. instead of in its deepest depth where it dwells. This search for it through material pleasures ends in this real object of that search being lost from their view, and the pleasures themselves taking its place. This last stage of mental degradation is not true, however, of all the people of the age. A small portion still retain much of the high spirituality of the Golden Age. Some are swayed by predominant Raja, others are ruled by Raja and Tama, while others are covered almost entirely by Tama. This leads to the division of the people into castes. Those who are uninfluenced by the assertive Raja are called Brahmins. Those swayed by Raja are called Kshatriyas. Those by Raja and Tama are called Vaishyas. Those mostly ruled by Tama are called Sudras. I have treated the caste system at some length in the next section. Tastes for material comforts involve housekeeping, and housekeeping is impracticable without a house. The people therefore build houses to live in for the first time in the degeneration period of the Satya Yuga. The Treta is called the Silver Age because gold, the spiritual metal, becomes less abundant with the decrease in spirituality in nature, and silver is found in abundance. People in the Satya Yuga use gold for household utensils, hence the Satya Yuga is called the Golden Age. The period in which gold plates come into use does not belong to the Golden Age proper. It is used in what is called the degeneration, Sadhyangasa, period of the Golden Age. Every age has a junction period and a degeneration period, called in the Hindu scriptures the twilight periods. These periods are of equal length. The morning twilight period of the Satya Yuga is 400 divine years, equal to 144,000 lunar years. Of the same length is its evening twilight period. The morning twilight period represents the junction period, the junction between the previous Kali and the Satya Yugas. The evening twilight period may be called the degeneration of the Satya Yuga. It is in this degeneration period, covering 144,000 years, that Raja asserts itself when people begin to turn to material pleasures, build houses, wear clothes, take to housekeeping, eat cooked food, and generally use gold plates, gold being abundant and on account of its possessing pure spiritual magnetism, purer than that of other metals. The average human height in the Silver Age is 14 cubit, or 21 feet. Average longevity of human life is 10,000 years. Human vitality is centered in the strength of the bones. Man lives as long as his bones sustain their strength. In the Golden Age, men enjoy full measure of spirituality. Virtue resides in them, in the language of the Shastras, in full 4 quarters. In the Treta, owing to the decrease of spirituality, virtue loses 1 quarter and retains 3. In the Golden Age, they are natural embodiments of Vedic wisdom. In the Treta, they have to study that wisdom as it expresses itself through entranced sages to keep up spirituality. And as the Silver Age advances, the increased influence of more and more assertive Raja within them makes it more and more imperative on all religious teachers and kings to direct people's attention to the necessity of wider and deeper study and practice of Vedic truths. As I have said, in the Golden Age, there are no carnal relations between man and woman. So is there none in the Silver Age, although man and woman, as husband and wife, live together in houses, have housekeeping, and enjoy material comforts. Yet, strange as it will strike most of us here, at this distance of time, the Golden Age and Silver Age women bear and give birth to children. The child is born in the womb of its mother at the wish and command of the husband. The wife asks her husband for a child, and the husband of the Golden Age, who is a miniature creator in the potency of his mind force, says, "So be it," and the wife at once conceives, but she has no pain of childbearing or childbirth to suffer from. The child is born soon after, and at times almost immediately. In the Treta Yuga, the conception takes place in some cases in the same manner, and in most cases through the eating by the wife of Charu, a mixture of boiled rice, milk, sugar, and butter, magnetized by mystic words or the will force of a psychic husband or a saint or a Brahmin. a magnetism which draws into the preparation a disembodied spirit who passes into the body of the wife through the food. The difficulty in believing this process of child conception lies in the ignorance which now prevails in the minds of most people of the modern world, especially in those of Westerners, as to the origin of conception, as to how conception takes place. The prevailing idea, formed from the teachings of imperfect modern science, is that it is the male seed, itself planted in the female soil, that begets and develops into the child. No greater fallacy can exist than this idea. Modern science is progressive, and in the process of time that progress will surely open its eyes to the true fact in regard to this matter. It will then find that it is the invisible germ hidden inside the seed, the subtle form of organism, encased in the thickened juice of the tree which the seed is, that develops into the shoot in the tree, and not merely the juice itself. This subtle organism enters into the forming bud from outside. Without this incoming subtle organism, no seed can germinate, neither does a seed germinate, as is well known, of which the germ has been destroyed. Similarly, no conception can take place without a disembodied soul, a human germ, entering the human seed when planted in the human soil. The juice of the seed and the juice of the soil form but the physical body of the child. The astral body, which is encased in this physical body, comes from without to dwell in that seed and leaves the developed physical body at death, which is nothing but the total disorganization of the physical body. The astral body never dies unless it is destroyed by bringing about absolute equilibrium of the three cardinal attributes which form the ego of man through spiritual development. I've treated this subject more fully under the heading of reincarnation. The length of the Silver Age proper is 3,000 divine years, equal to 1,080,000 human lunar years, with the two twilight, the junction, and the degeneration periods of 108,000 years each in addition. Section 7. The caste system. I've said that at the end of the Golden Age, and during its degeneration period, people's minds lose their tranquil equilibrium and look outwards for happiness. At this stage of the disturbance within nature and humanity occasioned by the assertion of the Raja attribute, the caste system comes into existence. The object of the caste system is to preserve as much order and harmony in human society as possible and prevent its disruption into individual units. In the Golden Age, all the people are as one family. In the Silver Age, they are divided into 4 families, dividing according to their inclinations, habits, and actions, and harmonious relations being established with one another through laws and interdependence. Those who still retain their perfected spirituality by subduing the influence of Raja are called Brahmins, which means those who know or still dwell in Brahm, the spirit of God. They are considered the head of the other castes because they are the embodiments of spiritual wisdom, which is the chiefest requisite in the building of character and the higher development of the human soul. Some of them still retain their Golden Age habits of life. Others clothe themselves with the barks of trees and live on fruits and nuts and roots in the forests. In huts made of tree trunks and leaves, they pass their days and nights in contemplation of the deity, the divine spirit, and its laws operating within nature, and inculcate these truths into the minds of the other classes of people. Those who, being unable to subdue the influence of Raja, are swayed by passions and become bold, spirited, and filled with material desires, are called Kshatriyas. They become rulers of the other 2 castes. These are the first kings and rulers of men, but they rule according to the injunctions of inspired codes of laws which are propounded with the object of the highest good of humanity in view, as well as the propagation of peace and goodwill among all classes of people. According to these laws, the king's first duty is to look to the material welfare of his subjects. The second is to protect them from injustice and aggression. The third is to help their moral and spiritual development. In short, the king's duty is to treat his subjects as his children. If any king fail to perform these duties to the satisfaction of his subjects or become aggressive towards them, he is immediately removed from his throne by the Brahmins, rishis, the all-powerful Brahmins, who always have the welfare of God's creatures at heart, and whose spiritual powers are mightier than kingly weapons and might. The Brahmins are called the gods of earth, Budevas, on account of their disinterested love of humanity and self-sacrificing devotion for its welfare, and their irresistible spiritual and psychical powers to carry their objects for the good of humanity into action. Those among the Golden Age people in whom excessive action of Raja develops some Tama as well, and partly covers the Sattva attribute, form yet another distinct caste. They are called Vaishyas, while the Kshatriyas occupy themselves in taking over the control and government of countries and peoples. The Vaishyas take to the occupation of agriculture, commerce, and raising of cattle, as much in their own individual material interests as in the interests of all humanity. In the Golden Age, owing to the fullness of spirituality within nature, all kinds of grains grow wild and abundant. With the decrease of that spirituality towards its end, these natural products of the earth diminish in quality and quantity, while the growing material instincts in people bring about their larger consumption, thereby creating greater demand for them. This increased demand is supplied by cultivation by the Vaishyas. Those again among the Golden Age people who, owing to the predominance of the Tama attribute in them, are filled with envy and greed and become untruthful and devoid of clean habits of life, and take to all sorts of low means and ways for their living, are classed as Sudras. The Kshatriya rulers compel these Sudras for their own good as well as the good of all other classes of people to take service under the three upper castes as domestic servants, so that by contact and association with their masters and by the examples of their purer ideas and habits of life, they may be elevated in morals and conduct. The science and wisdom, which are the foundation of the caste system of the Silver Age people, and which still form the backbone of the degenerate remnants of these primeval people, now known as Hindus, are worthy of study of all civilized mankind of the present day. It is the scientific law of the caste system which has preserved the indestructible individuality of the Hindus as a race. It is the chief source of strength which has supplied their inexhaustible vitality as a nation, the never-failing force which has ensured the permanency of their existence on the face of the globe. It is a system, the absence of which, in the organization of all other human societies, modern and ancient, has been the cause of their decay and death. The Hindu caste system is based upon laws of the inmost science of life, the laws which modern scientists are trying so hard and yet so hopelessly to discover and understand through wrong processes of investigation. Modern scientists are boastful of their achievements in the field of discovery of nature's laws and imagine they have learned almost all of nature's secrets, while in truth they know but a few of her surface laws, the mainsprings of which are to be found deep down in the mental and spiritual strata of which they even dream not of, a realm which must ever remain closed to purely objective investigation. It is as wrong to try to study nature from the operations of her physical laws as to govern and guide human beings by the aid of the deceptive light of those laws. The physical is the manifestation of the mental plane, as the mental is the manifestation of the spiritual plane, as I have shown in previous sections. The phenomena of the physical plane of nature are deceptive to the purely physical vision because they are the product of Tama, darkened Raja. Deceptive also are the phenomena of the mental plane, though not as deceptive as those of the physical. To a mental vision, the light of which is not derived from the spiritual plane, the mysterious machine room which alone supplies the life substance and springing of action to the mental and physical planes, the student of physical and mental nature who is not provided with the microscope of spiritual insight is apt almost invariably to read her in both these aspects incorrectly. He should not therefore be considered a safe guide for the healthy and harmonious development of human character, which is but a part and phase of one whole nature called the universe. The laws operating in the deepest depth of nature can only be seen and studied by the illumination of the soul, the radiance of Krishna's body. These, the Brahmins, the portion of the Golden Age people who still retain their high state of spirituality, study and learn and utilize in codifying principles and rules for regulating the daily life of the rest of the people. The conception of the caste system betrays their intimate knowledge of these inner natural laws upon which it is based, and the profound wisdom with which its organization to the minutest details is arranged. The organization of the caste system is, in fact, devised after the organization of the human body, after the inner and the outer human body. The entire caste system is like a huge living human body, living with its organs and senses in harmonious working order, and its mind contributing to and enjoying the effect of that harmony and feeling the higher planes to which the effect of that harmony elevates. What is the most needed essential for the healthy, harmonious, and useful conduct of human life? Love, intelligence, and wisdom. I had almost said love or wisdom, for intelligence and wisdom are but manifestations of love. Intelligence is the light of love, and wisdom is but its reflection on its own enlightened shadow. The mind. Wisdom likewise embodies both love in its light. Without wisdom a human being is like a wayward, mischievous animal. Our wisdom, intelligence, and thought inspiring guide our actions. Good thoughts lead us to good actions. Bad thoughts lead us to bad actions. We are nothing but our mind, and our mind is nothing but our thoughts, commingled effects of the reflections upon the mind, of external objects and internal impressions, of previous reflections of objects called ideas. Thoughts that lead us to bad actions, that is to say, actions which hurt others and us too, which bring inharmony to others, and finally to our own mind, are neither beneficial nor useful to our life. They are injurious to its best interests. Wisdom, harmonious, useful thoughts is therefore the most essential requisite of human life. Without it, power and wealthy are apt always to be misused and misdirected, resulting in loss of harmony, and harmony is happiness. Happiness which is the goal of all our quests and efforts in life. Thus the Brahmins who devote themselves absolutely to acquiring wisdom by communing with the soul of nature and its finest and purest attributes, and to supplying them to those who do not any more enjoy that advantage and privilege, naturally form the head, the seat of wisdom and intelligence, of the social organization called the four castes. The lower three castes are indebted to the Brahmins for wisdom which they receive from them in the form of lessons and codified laws of life which guide their daily existence, just as every one of us is indebted to our intelligence and wisdom for performing the functions of life to our own and our neighbor's benefit. Hence the Brahmins who supply the most important essential of life are protected, provided for, and paid utmost homage to by all the other castes. Next to wisdom comes strength, physical and mental, another greatly needed requisite of human life. A man needs mind force to rule his own mind and body as well as those of others to whom he is related, in order to maintain harmony within and without. He needs also physical strength to defend himself and others against attacks and aggressions and prevent encroachments by others upon his property and interests. The Kshatriyas, kings, form and supply this requisite to the four caste organism. They form the arms of the caste body, arms being symbolical of strength and ruling power. Without a powerful, noble ruler, all communities of men are liable to find themselves in disorder and in harmony, and to suffer from lawlessness and injustice, just as a man who has no strength to defend himself from aggression is liable to be robbed of his possessions and be miserable. More important than the duty of protecting the life and property of his subjects is the king's duty to help their moral and spiritual well-being, and this the king does by enforcing the performance of the religious duties appertaining to each of the three castes as enjoined in the Vedic laws, discovered and enunciated by the holy ones. Those who do not perform these duties and practices are punished by temporary excommunication, and if still persistent in disobeying the injunctions, by absolute banishment from all societies. These early sages have always held that prevention is better and easier than cure of diseases, physical, mental, or spiritual. Regular spiritual practices performed daily form habits, and spiritual habits cleanse the impurities of the mind, which then becomes fit to reflect the highest spiritual truths, by the light of which man witnesses the unity of all nature, feels the ecstasy of the one essence which pervades it, and stands face to face with his Maker. The next essential of harmonious human life is food. Most people of our day will say that food is rather the first essential of life. We, in this degenerate age, have indeed come to think so, but the Silver Age people, as well as all really thoughtful people amongst us, do not think so. Food does sustain life, no doubt, but that life, if void of wisdom and force of mind, is not worth living. It is the life of an animal or a vegetable. Food is essential to life, so are wisdom and mental force. Is our life sustained by food alone? I should think not. unless it be the life of a man who is but a little removed from a beast. Happy thoughts furnish the chief support of our life. Our life depends more upon happy and harmonious thoughts than food. If our thoughts are sad and gloomy, we do not enjoy life at all, or feel that we are living. Although we may eat the daintiest food, be surrounded by luxuries, and have plenty of the world's goods, many of us destroy this food-sustained life, suffering from the pangs of miserable thoughts. Many die of broken heart and other diseases brought on by the continued pressure of sad thoughts, although well fed and well clothed and well supplied with money and other material comforts of life. The Vishayas represent the vital vigor of the four-caste organism, and as according to the Shastras, the seat of the vital vigor is the loins. The Vaishyas form the loins of that body. The Silver Age Vaishyas take to cultivation of the soil, raising of cattle, and trade, more for the weal of all mankind than for their own personal aggrandizement. The Sudras are the feet of the four-caste organism, very important members of the body too. They represent devotion through service. Indeed, devotion is the training which each caste passes through while fulfilling the duties of its profession. The Brahmins are to practice meditation on God and study the Veda. The object is devotion to the Supreme Being. The Kshatriyas are to rule the other two castes with the aid of the Brahmins, with love, justice, and fatherly care according to inspired laws. The object is to acquire devotion to the Supreme Being. The Vaishyas are to till the land and raise cattle, only to serve God's creatures. The object is to cultivate devotion to the Supreme Being thereby. The Sudras must serve the three pure and spiritual upper castes for the purpose of absorbing their spiritual magnetism through association and examples. The object is the same, cultivating devotion to the Supreme Being by loving service rendered to his devotees. Thus the caste system, though worked by human agency, is founded upon natural laws. As originally created in the Silver Age, its object is to form people into groups according to the similarity of their natural castes of mind, according to their natural instincts and dispositions, with the view of uniting them by the bonds of their common as well as mutual interests, with the view of helping them to material, moral, and spiritual elevation by compelling them to discharge their respective duties according to the injunctions of inspired codes of laws furnished by illumined sages, whose very pure, unselfish, spiritual, and self-sacrificing life is the best guarantee of the wisdom, efficacy, and usefulness of their advices and teachings. The relation of interdependence which these caste laws consolidate is in itself one of the grandest achievements of the caste system for the good of the human family. It is the most practical means of preserving unity and a natural preventive of the disintegration of the whole mass of humanity into individual units, than which no greater calamity can happen to the general as well as individual weal of human beings. Yet, alas, among non-caste races this is happening, especially in the Western countries of the world at the present time. Look at the state of the human society at this moment, particularly at that portion of it which is governed by the ideas of what is boastfully called civilization. Look at the external results of the internal influence of this civilization. Material comfort and pleasure has become the very ideal of life for its average votary. All, almost all, are ever rushing on the path of securing the means for that one end, and in that mad rush they are jostling, hustling, hating, abusing, cheating, killing, and destroying one another physically and morally. In that mad rush for that one goal, and that selfish fighting quarrel, out of the exhaustion brought on by the efforts of that bustling and hustling, they have no time or opportunity or inclination to think of anything which has no immediate concern with that utterly material aim of life. They have no time to think of their mind, much less of their soul, which most of them have abolished as a delusion and an obstacle in the way of material success. They've even no time to look up into the blue heavens during night or during day, to look at the beauties of the stars and the moon, much less to think of what they are and if they have any relation with them. Material interests are fast taking the place of natural love and affection. Husbands and wives are fighting with each other. Sons and daughters are ignoring and disobeying their parents. Masters and servants have no other regard for each other than that, inspired by personal gain. They are always trying to cheat instead of helping each other. Members of communities are divided against each other and only seemingly united for the sake of selfish ends. Society exists only in name. Envy, malice, greed, selfishness, conceit, having gained predominance in all, have split society into units. This chaotic state of modern human society, in most parts of the world, the truth of which will be generally acknowledged, ought to convince all thoughtful people as to the wisdom and vital necessity of the caste system. Even now, where the four-caste system still exists, it does serve to keep the communities within its rule as one compact body to a great extent, through the influence of its laws of interdependence and mutual harmonious relations. Thanks to caste, even the degenerating Hindus of today have not yet been split into units. This remnant race, a race which has still retained some of the instincts of the original human family of the Silver Age, is being more and more divided and subdivided, no doubt, at the present day. But these divisions and subdivisions are large, coherent parts linked together into one great whole. The entire race is divided into four castes. The castes are divided into subcastes. The subcastes again into communities. The communities into rural societies. The rural societies into large patriarchal joint families. The members of families are ruled by the patriarchs by the headmen of caste communities, the caste communities by the spiritual Brahmin guides, through the enforcement of the salutary scriptural injunctions, the infringement of which is punished in minor cases by expiations involving physical hardships and spiritual austerities and purifying ceremonies, and in serious cases by expulsion from caste, which in India is a greater disaster than natural or material calamities, and all these rulers and ruled are related to one another by more or less natural love and affection, or respect and sense of duty born in their blood through thousands of generations of hereditary habits of thought and life. All are inspired to command and obey by the spirit of the Veda, which their mind absorbs through the performance of their respective spiritual, social, physical duties, as enjoined by the later scriptures, the Shastras, which are modified embodiments of the revealed laws of the basic spirit of all life, the all-cementing spirit of nature, love. End of section 7.